Coach is here. Can you throw me a program feed? We can start whenever you're ready. Okay. I'm not hearing that. Are you piping it to me? Yeah, I've got nothing. I hear you, but that's it. Okay, now I got you. Thank you. And good morning. The Bulldogs are back in action this week. Saturday night, 7 o'clock against Sac State, right at Bulldog Stadium. It's football fiesta. We'll tell you more about that. But Coach Jeff Tedford is here to talk about the time off and the week ahead. Coach, having a week off after those two physical battles with USC and Minnesota, what's the best thing that came out of that for your team?
I think getting healthy, number one, to give some guys a chance to heal up a little bit and then really get back to fundamentals and get a jump on Sac State. And then over the weekend had a chance to go out and recruit a little bit on Friday and Saturday. So, yeah, just to, try to heal up the bodies. Some heal, some don't, so it's just the way football is. But it was a productive week.
Sac State turned a lot of heads with taking Arizona State to the fourth quarter, the same ASU team that just beat Michigan State and an ASU team that you played in the bowl game. But this past weekend, a 50-0 victory over Northern Colorado. What impressed you more, Sac State's offense in that game or the defense the Hornets played?
Well, I think they're a great football team. To watch Arizona State game, it was 12-7 with about 4 minutes to play, and lost a back, in coverage, and he took it, for, 50 yards or something. But then they marched right down the field and threw a pass in the end zone at the very end of the game. But their defense is just playing lights out. I thought they really shut down Arizona State. They've really shut down everyone they've played. They're giving up 1.8 yards a rush, which is unheard of. They play really, really hard. They're very well coached. They scored 77 points their first game, 50 last week. They're averaging 44, almost 45 points a game. They're only giving up 12 points a game. So they're doing an awesome job.
And I'm sure you can imagine how significant an opportunity this is for their team to come into Bulldog Stadium against an FBS team that was a conference champion last year, and they have a lot of their guys who play are from the Valley too. So how do you focus your team for the challenge that you're up against on Saturday?
Well, just to make sure we understand that they're a great football team, and that we have to concentrate on us and execution and make sure we're fundamentally sound, because it's going to be a battle. They've played really, really hard. They do a great job on offense of spreading the ball around. Very efficient with what they do. They're over 50% on third down. They just do a lot of really good things, keep you off balance. They're able to run and throw it. And defensively, they've pretty much shut everybody down. So, the message is for sure that we're playing a really, really good football team, and we have to play our best if we want to be successful.
And I know I've heard you and your coaches and your players talk about the 24-hour rule, putting stuff behind you. But when you have a bye week this early in the season and you're trying to look forward on what you can do better, do you take some time and look at those two games and say, here's some things that if we just clean those up, we're going to be fine?
Well, we did that on Sunday, on the Sundays after the games. And then we move forward from there, and it's no different in a bye week. We get back to fundamentals and make sure that we're doing a good job tackling, but it's on to the next opponent at that point, and that's in the rearview mirror. Those first two games, now it's moving forward and doing our best to try to be successful.
Next question for Coach. Anyone in the back? questions today?
Coach, how much time has spent in the offseason kind of previewing these teams? And if you looked at last year's film of Sac State, what are they doing that's been so much improved from last year?
Well, they have a whole new coaching staff. You know, it's a new offense, new defense. You know, so the kids play really, really hard. They're very efficient. Troy Taylor does an excellent job offensively, and their defensive coordinator does an excellent job. And, you know, you can tell they're very well coached. They play really, really hard, really disciplined. And, you know, so it's just it's a different team. I mean, you may look at some of their personnel, but it's a whole different package in all phases of the game.
Schematically, what do you see on their defense, especially in run defense, that's been so successful?
Well, they do a lot of movement, but they play really hard. They're physical. They play really hard. They don't get out of gaps. I mean, they're just really well coached, and they're very multiple in what they do. And, you know, so it's a challenge. And, you know, like I said, even, you know, at Arizona State, who has a great running back, you know, they pretty much held him to almost nothing. And it seems like any yards that they do get against him is because the quarterback scrambles or something, you know. But design run plays are few and far between of anybody making any yards on them.
Is there any benefit of that film being against a common opponent you saw last season?
Not really. You know, there's no benefit of it besides we know how good Arizona State was last year and how good that running back is. And so to see them limit him like they did was very impressive. And, you know, so we know Arizona State's got a great defense, but they managed to move the ball against them and had a couple turnovers, which hurt them. But it wasn't they were just getting stuffed by any means, you know. And then you turn around and see what Arizona State goes and beats Michigan State, you know. So Arizona State's no slouch. And so, you know, I can't say it loud enough how good of a football team Sac State is.
You've got a few players that haven't been available yet, but looks like they might be close. Maury Edwards, Jace Fuamatu, Nico Thomas. Are these two games opportunities where you can start to work them in, or do you want to make sure they don't have any setback before conference play? Just how do you approach that?
Well, it really has nothing to do with who we play. It's just when they're ready to play. And that's day to day with all those guys. And we'll keep evaluating them. But they're moving forward in practice, and we're ramping them up a little bit. And you know, so it's a process, though. You know, you don't want to play them before they're ready to play. And so there's a few guys on the team that fit that. And so we'll listen to the trainers and listen to the players on how they feel and move forward.
In the locker room and just around school, how have you seen your captains taking leadership positions in the bye week and just keeping everyone focused?
Well, it's not just the captains, it's everyone. You know, just go out to do our work every day, you know, and focus and make sure we have good practices with good energy. And so it's a group effort for sure. It's not just about the captains. They play a role, no doubt, but it's about the whole team.
Coach, you've played 6 true freshmen this season. What have you seen from those guys in the first 2 games, and how much do you expect them to keep contributing?
Well, every week, you know, every week's a new experience, and you know, I think we have good young kids here, and but every week's a different challenge. Every week's a different plan. How they fit into the plan. You know, they've competed well. And so I just, you know, continue to, like in anything, you continue to look for growth each and every week of the season. Just try to improve, try to get better every week, not just the young guys, but everyone.
Saturday's game is going to be the first home game that you have until October 18th. How excited is the team and the coaching staff to play in front of the fans, knowing that you're not going to see them for a while?
Well, I hadn't really thought about that, about the next time we play at home. I hadn't really thought about that. I'm so focused, and we're so focused on just trying to do our job this week. But like I said before, it's always great to play at home. It's always great to play in Bulldog Stadium. And, so quite a while until we come home. I didn't realize that. But we're going to stay focused one game at a time.
Anybody else?
Speaking of the freshmen, how much has that 4-game redshirt rule been of consideration this year compared to last year with so many more of them getting opportunities?
Well, it's always a consideration because the further you go into the season, the more you have to see how many reps they're getting. Is it worth using the 4-game? What is the depth at their position? Those type of things. And so it's something that we monitor each week. We look at it, we evaluate it. We've only played 2 so far. So as it gets into the 3rd and 4th, then it becomes really decision time at that point on, what we're going to do with them. But there's quite a few guys playing right now, quite a few young guys. And so as it gets to the 4th game, there'll be some decisions to be made.
Seems like you have significantly more freshmen this year that are dressing out that haven't played yet. What's the benefit of that, and could you see them perhaps at the last 4 games of the season?
Yeah, I think it's always good to guys that are right there that could play at any point. It's good for them to go through a game experience, be it pregame meal, be it meetings leading up to the game, warm up and pregame, what a pregame atmosphere looks like, feels like. The focus it takes during a game, whether they play or whether they don't, but it's good to go through, especially in non-conference when we don't have a limitation on how many people we can travel, things like that. It's nice to have them involved, to feel part of it, and to know that if we need them, what the environment feels like, what the tempo, what the mindset needs to be. It's for that experience as well.
Coach, a couple of things unrelated to what happens between the lines. One, I was watching yesterday as Tom Flores and Darryl LaMonica and Jim Plunkett and all these Raider greats and Kenny Stabler's family are congratulating Derek Carr on being the Raiders' all-time leading passer. You want to pile on to that? Have anything you want to say to Derek or for him?
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't realize that either. So congratulations to Derek. Well deserved. And really happy for him. I got a chance a little bit this last week to see him play. The game before, I guess it was a week earlier, and I thought he played great. Looked like he had great command of what was going on, very accurate throwing the ball, looks like he's having fun playing. So really happy for him because I know how hard he works at it, how much it means to him. So congratulations to him, well deserved.
And Saturday is football Fiesta. It's National Hispanic Heritage Month. You spent most of your life in California. I know you've been surrounded by Hispanic culture. You have several Latino players on your team. What does that mean to you to have football Fiesta and celebrate that heritage and the influence here in our valley?
I think it's great. It's obvious, a big part of the valley. We appreciate the Hispanic community, and it makes up a big portion of our crowd. And so we're very appreciative to them, and it's great that we're able to honor them.
If you could boil it down to one thing that games like this often pose in terms of challenges, because you've been in games like this before, where you're playing an FCS team, people from the outside expect you to win, but you know how tough that opponent is, and you've just been through it all. What's the most important factor for your players to keep in mind in a situation like that?
Well, to focus on our execution, because it's no different, FCS, FBS, we don't look at opponents any differently, and I don't look at this opponent any differently, because these guys can play with anybody. It's very obvious they can play with anyone. They can score, they play great defense, so the whole FBS, FCS thing to me makes no difference whatsoever. Power 5, Group of 5, none of it ever makes any difference because, they get scholarships too, and they're good players, and they're very well coached, and they pose a lot of challenges. And in order to be successful, you have to play your best. no matter who you play. And that's going to be very evident this Saturday. We have a lot of respect for Sac State. They've done a phenomenal job. Very impressive to watch on tape.
I was watching the Raiders yesterday, and of course they're playing the Chiefs, and Travis Kelce, here's this big tight end running around with a red helmet, and I'm picturing Jared Rice doing those kinds of things for Fresno State. And I know there are a lot of reasons that, you know, things happen and things don't happen, but does it concern you at all that you haven't been able to get the ball in Jared's hands more in the first two games?
No, it's just how things lay out, you know. I mean, how coverages unfold and where you need to go with the ball. And you know, he's been targeted a few times, and you know, we missed him down the sideline. I think he dropped the ball down the sideline last week, and caught a touchdown though last week. And but you know, it's whatever the defense allows you to do. You're not just going to force it to somebody. You know, there's a lot of other guys on the field that are weapons that if the coverage dictates it, that's where you need to go with the football.
And you answered some questions about the four-game redshirt rule. And, you know, going into the season, there was talk of Josh Hokett sitting out this entire year and you know, maybe taking advantage of the four-game redshirt. He's already played in two. Can we say with certainty that he's going to play the whole season this year?
He's going to play the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. These are, you know, it's Ronnie and him. There are two running backs. And so, yes, we need him. And, you know, we had 3 running backs really go down in camp. You know, when we heard Mims had to have a bone graft, and where we thought he was going to be back, and then Romello went down and Peyton Dixon went down, and then all of a sudden, you know, here we are. And we have a lot of trust in Josh Hokett. He's a very good player. Made the transition back really easy because you know, he knows the terminology, and you know, so we're going to rely on him a lot this year.
Any last questions for Coach before we let him go? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's Coach Jeff Tedford. His Bulldogs host Sacramento State Saturday night, a 7 o'clock kick at Bulldog Stadium. It is streaming online, but it's not on any traditional TV. You're going to hear it here on the radio on 940 ESPN, and hopefully you're going to be there. 278-DOGS or GoBulldogs.com to pick up your tickets. Our pregame coverage on Saturday will start at 4 p.m. with Game Day Live. You can pick up those Game Day Live tailgate passes at a lot of places this week, including the Doghouse Grill Wednesday night when Coach Tedford will be there for his weekly show Wednesday night from 6 to 7 at the Doghouse Grill. We'd love to see you there, and we'll take a short break here, see what